They say you're supposed to slow down after 60, settle into your rocking chair, accept that passion, desire, and wild, breathless love are things of the past. Well, I'm here to tell you that's the biggest lie society ever sold us. My name is Margaret, and I'm 63 years old. 2 years ago, I did something that turned my entire world upside down. I fell deeply, madly, impossibly in love with a man 23 years younger than me. For 2 years, I experienced a kind of joy I didn't even know existed in my first marriage. I felt alive again, desired, seen. But that love came with a price I never imagined I'd have to pay. My children stopped speaking to me. My friends whispered behind my back. Strangers stared at us in restaurants like we were committing a crime. The pressure became unbearable, and eventually, I had to make a choice that broke both our hearts. Today, I'm alone, but I'm not ashamed, and I'm about to tell you why those 2 years were worth every single tear I've cried since. It started in the most unexpected place, a community college pottery class. I know it sounds like something out of a romantic movie, but that's exactly where it happened. After my husband Richard passed away 3 years earlier, I'd been living in this gray fog of existence. My daughter Sarah insisted I needed to get out more, so I signed up for a Thursday evening class, mostly to get her off my back. That's where I met Daniel. He walked into that classroom on the second week, late, covered in paint splatter from his day job as a contractor. He apologized to the instructor, took the empty seat next to mine, and when our eyes met for the first time, I felt something I hadn't felt in decades, a flutter in my chest that made me feel like a teenager again. I tried to ignore it. I told myself I was being ridiculous. This man was young enough to be my son. He was 38, divorced, no children, and rebuilding his life after what he later told me was a painful separation. But there was something about the way he looked at my work, the way he asked my opinion, the way he actually listened when I spoke. It made me feel visible in a way I hadn't felt in years. We started having coffee after class. Just friendly conversation, I told myself. He'd talk about his renovation projects, and I'd share stories about my career as a high school English teacher. He made me laugh. God, he made me laugh in a way I'd forgotten was possible. There was no pretense with Daniel, no judgment, no expectations. He treated me like a person, not like somebody's mother or widow or a woman past her prime. One night, about 2 months into our friendship, we stayed late at a coffee shop that was about to close. The conversation had shifted to something deeper: regrets, lost time, the courage it takes to start over. And then he said something that changed everything. "Margaret," he said, his voice quiet but steady, "I need to be honest with you. I think about you constantly. I know this probably sounds crazy, and I know there's an age difference, but I don't care. I haven't felt this connected to anyone in years, maybe ever." My heart was racing. Every logical part of my brain was screaming at me to shut this down, to protect both of us from the inevitable pain this would cause. But there was another voice, quieter but stronger, that whispered, "When was the last time you felt this alive?" I reached across the table and took his hand. "I think about you too," I whispered back. That night, sitting in that nearly empty coffee shop, I made a choice that would give me the most beautiful and most painful 2 years of my entire life. For the first 3 months, we kept our relationship completely private. It felt like we were living in this secret, beautiful bubble where nothing else mattered. Daniel would come to my house after dark, and we'd cook dinner together, dance in my kitchen to old jazz records, talk until 3 in the morning about everything and nothing. He made me feel like the most fascinating woman in the world. I know what people think when they hear about relationships like ours. They assume it's purely physical, that a younger man must be with an older woman for money or some twisted psychological reason. But what Daniel and I had was so much deeper than that. Yes, there was passion, more passion than I'd experienced in my entire marriage, but there was also genuine friendship, intellectual connection, and a tenderness that took my breath away. He loved the way I saw the world. He said I had a wisdom and confidence that women his age didn't possess, and I loved his energy, his optimism, the way he believed we could create our own rules. When I was with him, I didn't feel 61. I didn't feel any age at all. I just felt like myself, maybe for the first time ever. But living in secret was taking its toll. I hated lying to my children. My daughter Sarah would call and ask if I was dating anyone, and I'd change the subject. My son Michael would stop by unexpectedly, and I'd panic if Daniel's truck was anywhere nearby. The deception was eating at me, but I was terrified of what would happen if they knew the truth. Daniel was the one who finally pushed us to stop hiding. "I love you, Margaret," he said one evening as we sat on my back porch watching the sunset. "I'm not ashamed of us, and you shouldn't be either. I want to take you to dinner. I want to hold your hand in public. I want people to know that you're the woman I'm in love with." His words were beautiful, but they also filled me with dread. I knew what going public would mean. I had seen the way society treated couples like us, the stares, the whispers, the judgment. But Daniel's eyes were so full of hope, so full of certainty, that I found myself nodding. "Okay," I whispered, "let's stop hiding." The next week, we went to dinner at a popular restaurant downtown. Daniel held my hand as we walked in, pulled out my chair, kissed my cheek. And yes, people stared. I could feel their eyes burning into us, could practically hear their thoughts. But for that one evening, I chose to focus only on the man sitting across from me, looking at me like I was the only woman in the world. I should have known that evening was the beginning of the end. It took exactly 4 days for my daughter to find out. A friend of hers had seen us at the restaurant and couldn't wait to share the shocking news. Sarah showed up at my door on a Tuesday morning, her face a mixture of anger and disbelief that I'll never forget. "Mom, please tell me it's not true," she said, her voice shaking. "Please tell me you're not dating someone my age." I invited her in, tried to explain, tried to help her understand that what Daniel and I had was real and beautiful, but she wouldn't listen. She kept saying things like embarrassing, inappropriate, and what would Dad think? Each word was like a knife to my heart. "Sarah, your father has been gone for 3 years, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I loved him deeply, but he would want me to be happy. Daniel makes me happy in a way I haven't been in decades. She laughed, a bitter, angry laugh that didn't sound like my daughter at all. "Happy? Mom, you're being ridiculous. This man is using you. Can't you see that? What could a 38-year-old possibly want with a 61-year-old woman except for money or some sick fetish?" Her words shattered something inside me. This was my daughter, the girl I'd raised to be open-minded and compassionate, and she was looking at me like I was pathetic, like my feelings couldn't possibly be valid because of the number of candles on my birthday cake. When Michael found out, it was somehow even worse. He called me on the phone, wouldn't even come see me in person, and told me I was making a fool of the family. He said his wife was embarrassed to be associated with me, that they decided it was best if I didn't come to their house anymore while I was going through this phase. A phase. That's what my own son called the deepest love I'd ever known. The whispers in my neighborhood started shortly after. I'd see my longtime friends at the grocery store, and they'd suddenly become very interested in their shopping lists. My book club, women I'd known for 15 years, stopped inviting me. One of them actually had the audacity to send me an article about age-appropriate relationships with a note that said, "Thought you might find this helpful." Daniel tried to shield me from it all.
He'd hold me while I cried, tell me that their opinions didn't matter, that love was love regardless of age. But I could see it was affecting him too. His friends were giving him a hard time, calling him names I won't repeat. His mother refused to meet me. The world was closing in on us, and the beautiful bubble we'd created was starting to crack. But I wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. I kept telling myself that love would be enough, that eventually people would see what we had and accept it. I was so naive.
The final blow came on Thanksgiving. I'd always hosted Thanksgiving dinner. It was our family tradition for over 30 years. But that year, Sarah called me 2 weeks before the holiday and told me they'd decided to have dinner at her house instead. The message was clear. I was welcome to come, but Daniel was not. "You have to choose, Mom," she said, her voice cold in a way I'd never heard before. "Either you come to Thanksgiving alone, like a normal grandmother, or you stay home with your boyfriend and accept that you're choosing him over your family." I felt Daniel's arms around me as I hung up the phone, my whole body shaking. He didn't say anything at first, just held me while I fell apart. When I finally looked up at him, I saw something in his eyes that terrified me. Resignation. "Margaret," he said softly, "maybe they're right. Maybe I'm being selfish. I'm destroying your relationship with your children. I'm isolating you from everyone you love." "No," I said firmly, gripping his hands. "They're the ones being unreasonable. They're the ones who can't see past their own prejudices." But the damage was already done. That seed of doubt had been planted, and over the next few months, it grew. Every family event I missed, every grandchild's birthday I wasn't invited to, every Sunday dinner I spent alone, it all added up. Daniel started pulling away, not because he loved me less, but because he loved me too much to watch me lose everything. The guilt was eating him alive. He'd lost weight, stopped sleeping well. I'd catch him staring at me with this heartbroken expression, like he was already mourning what we had. And I was drowning in my own pain. The pain of being forced to choose between the man I loved and the children I'd raised. On a cold February evening, almost 2 years after that first coffee after pottery class, Daniel came to my house, and I knew before he even spoke what was coming. "I can't do this anymore," he said, tears streaming down his face. "I can't be the reason you don't see your grandchildren grow up. I can't be the reason your daughter won't speak to you. I love you too much to keep hurting you like this." I begged him to stay. I told him we could weather this storm, that eventually people would come around. But we both knew the truth. The world wasn't going to change. The judgment wasn't going to stop. And I was being forced to make an impossible choice. In the end, I didn't choose. Daniel made the choice for both of us. He kissed me one last time, told me I was the love of his life, and walked out my door. I haven't seen him since. That was 18 months ago.
"You'd think that after Daniel left, my children would welcome me back with open arms. You'd think they'd be relieved, grateful even, that I'd come to my senses. But that's not what happened. The relationship with my children was already broken, and Daniel's absence didn't magically fix it. Sarah speaks to me now, but there's a distance between us that wasn't there before. She's a light, cordial even, but the warmth is gone. She'll never forgive me for those 2 years, and I'll never forgive her for making me feel ashamed of the most beautiful love I've ever known. Michael calls on holidays, asks surface-level questions about my health, but he doesn't really want to know me anymore. I'm not the mother he thought he had. And Daniel? I heard through mutual friends that he moved to another state about 6 months after we ended things. Part of me hopes he's found happiness. Part of me hopes he thinks about me as often as I think about him. People ask me if I regret it. They expect me to say yes, to admit that it was all a terrible mistake, a moment of temporary insanity. But here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. I don't regret a single moment. Those 2 years with Daniel were the most alive I've ever felt. He saw me, truly saw me, not as a mother, not as a widow, not as a woman past her prime, but as Margaret, a woman with desires, dreams, and a heart that still had so much love to give. He made me laugh until I couldn't breathe. He challenged my thinking. He held me like I was precious. And yes, he loved me with a passion that proved age is just a number when two souls genuinely connect. Society tells us that women over 60 should be invisible, that we should fade quietly into the background, content with our memories, grateful for our grandchildren, accepting that romance and desire are no longer meant for us. But why? Why should our hearts have expiration dates? Why should we apologize for wanting to feel alive? I'm 63 years old, and I'm alone. My children keep me at arm's length. My grandchildren barely know me. I lost the man I loved because the world couldn't handle our happiness. And yet, I do it all over again. Because here's what I learned. It's better to have loved fully and lost everything than to have never felt that kind of love at all. It's better to be alone and authentic than surrounded by people who only accept a watered-down version of who you are. So I ask you, whoever's listening to my story, does love have an age limit? Do we stop deserving happiness after 60? Or is it possible that society's rules about who can love whom are just another way to control and diminish us? I know my answer. I hope you'll find yours.
And now, I want to speak directly to you, the person on the other side of the screen who has listened to this story until now. What did you think of Margaret's journey? Do you believe she was wrong for following her heart? Or do you think society was wrong for judging her so harshly? This is a real story. The names and locations have been changed to protect the privacy of those involved, but the emotions, the love, and the heartbreak, all of it is absolutely real. Margaret's experience represents thousands of men and women over 60 who are told their time for love has passed. But we're here to change that narrative. If Margaret's story touched your heart, if it made you think differently about love after 60, please subscribe to our channel, Real Hearts After 60. This is a space where real stories of love, loss, and second chances are celebrated, not judged. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment telling us, do you believe love has an age limit? Your story matters. Your heart matters, no matter your age.